Welcome. It's 6 o'clock, so let's get this meeting underway. We're beginning with an open forum work session. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm going to start by introducing, letting our superintendent introduce our new school resource officer, Troy Scott. I don't know if Troy's in here, if you might have seen him coming in, but
yeah, he started today, Officer Troy Scott. This is an ongoing relationship we have with the city of Grand Rapids, and his first day on the job with kids was today. So Officer Troy Scott is he's around somewhere, and if you see him, say hi.
Yeah, thanks. As you can see, we were expecting a large crowd tonight, wishing to share perspectives on mass during an open forum. If you wish to speak at all during the open forum, please feel free to sign up. We will continue our input portion of our regular meeting, and we'll begin at 6:30, and we will continue if there is more folks at public input at the end of that meeting. So I'm going to begin by, there are sign-up sheets. I did get some. Our public statement for meeting and open forum is the ISD 318 school board shall provide a specific period of time where persons may address the school board on any topic subject to the limitations of policy 206. All individual comments shall be less than 5 minutes. Any group of 5 or more persons must appoint one person to present the group's views to the board. Depending on the number of persons present, the school board chair reserves the right to set further time limits to allow participation within the allocated time. The board shall not allow negative comments in public session about individual employees or students. Specific factual information or recitation of existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries, but the board shall not deliberate or decide regarding any issue that is not included on the agenda posted with the notice of the meeting. If there are more requests than time available, priority will be given to persons who do reside within the Grand Rapids Big Fork School District. I would just like to say that we realize that many of you here want to talk about mass, and the board understands that this is an important topic. We also realize that there has been inaccurate information shared on social media by people not affiliated with the school district, that a decision about masking was part of the purpose of tonight's meeting. That is in fact not the case. Tonight's meeting is not a public meeting, but a regularly scheduled meeting. Members of the public may sign up to address the board during the open forum component of our school board meeting from 6 to 6:30 and during the public input agenda item at the end of the meeting. However, you may have noticed masking is not a topic on our agenda tonight and therefore isn't something the board is going to deliberate or make a decision on. We do post our agendas prior to the week prior to the meeting, so the agenda has been up since Friday. But we did want to make sure that everybody who wants to say something has the ability to say something, as this is a continuously moving target as we deal with the pandemic. So thank you for all being here, and I look forward to hearing from you. We will have a timer so that everybody gets an equal opportunity to share. Superintendent Gross will be running the timer. When you come up to the podium, I would ask that you share your name and whether or not you reside in the district. You do not have to share your address. We will not ask for that type of information for security purposes. So your name and whether or not you reside in the district, and then we will start a 5-minute timer from there. Are there any questions, board members? I can start by going down the list of folks, and I apologize if I don't say your name correctly, and please correct me if I do say it wrong. I have Jackie Dowell. Jackie, would you like to speak? Okay, please come up to the podium. Can you state your name and whether or not you reside in the district?
Jackie Dowell, and I do reside in the district.
Thank you, Jackie.
I'm 87 and a great-grandmother of 9, none of whom live in this district. However, the district they live in, which includes Duluth and St. Cloud, have mask mandates. I worry enough about them, but I would be worried to death if they were in this district with only a recommendation. I'm deeply concerned about the children in this area. The only protection for children under 12 is masking, as they cannot be vaccinated. Recommending defeats the purpose when it's evident there are many who will not mask their children without a mandate. Medical freedom is not the freedom to expose other children to infection or possibly death. Education is the charge of the school board, but the safety of children must be paramount. This district must be proactive, not reactive. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Next, I have Dana Butler. Welcome, Dana.
Thank you.
Please state your name and whether or not you reside in the district.
Dana Butler, and yes, I'm in the district.
Thank you.
Tonight I want to use my voice to magnify the voices of one population, the medically at risk and or disabled, and to advocate for another, which is our children. Go in any school district building and you will see accommodations in place for disabled persons, including wheelchair accessible ramps, bathroom stalls, electric doors, braille, microphones. Many of these are accommodations for visible disabilities. Invisible disabilities exist. COVID, by its destructive nature, has elevated being at risk to a disability for many with medical conditions, and yet our school board is choosing not to address this issue with the vigor it requires. Having no mask mandate or visor mandate puts the entire burden of medical safety for those at risk, or in the times of COVID as disabled, on those that are at risk or disabled. The school board is requiring them to do more to keep themselves safe so that others aren't inconvenienced. That is ableism. Ableism is defined as discrimination in favor of non-disabled people. It's as if we were to ask someone wheelchair-bound to navigate a smaller stall on their own because having a wheelchair-accessible stall would be an inconvenience to the rest of the population. For our children, research is clear. Children are at a much higher risk for the Delta variant. One study even states 75% of elementary-aged kiddos in the U.S. will have it within 3 months. We know it's deadly. The school board is doing less now than it did a year ago when they were at less of a risk. That's negligent. Speak to the child closest to your heart and tell them that the risk of them contracting this horrible and destructive virus is way higher than it was before, but you're choosing to do less now to protect them. Outside of here, I'm a mental health therapist. I work primarily with kids and families. I'm not going to quote studies. I'm not going to bring up a bunch of articles because in this setting, it's not my job to convince anyone of my qualifications. What I can say is that requiring children to wear masks while working to include accommodations for those who medically struggle to do so is not harmful to a child's long-term mental health nor development. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Next, I have Andy Nitzle.
Hello, thank you. My name is Andy Nitzle. I am a parent of 2 children in ISD 318. I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity to address the school board and Matt Gross specifically, as well as my fellow ISD 318 parents. First off, I'd like to thank Matt Gross for his position for the 2021 school year on masks and vaccines for his staff and employee. Not mandating vaccines for your staff and employees takes a lot of guts. We commend you for that. I wish more large organizations in our town and around this country had the kind of bravery you've shown for that. Thank you. I feel as though it's my duty as a parent to speak for what's right in this mask game that's going on constantly here. It's being played out in the wrong arena with our kids. That's totally wrong to me. Tonight you're going to hear calls from both sides of this fence. As many of you know, because I'm very outspoken on Facebook and in this community, I happen to be on the side that's very fundamentally against masking our children. Because I'm outspoken, I regularly get attacked in this community. In fact, I'll share one of those incidents with you. Last year around this time, a doctor in our community attacked me, who does not know me, on social media privately, in the back channels, as you would say, sliding into my DMs, if you will, when I simply posed a question asking the school board how it was safe for kids to play football and hockey without masks on, but at that time could not attend school with masks on while socially distancing. It was a very classic bully move on this person's part. She slid into my DMs, cutting me down, elevating herself, telling me she was a doctor, while I was just nothing more than a normal person. But I'm more than I'm a parent here, and I'm very impassioned by this. In fact, this individual, I believe, rallied a bunch of physicians to show up here tonight. So that's what you guys are up against. It's wrong for adults to force masking on our children. It's a clear attempt to use a child's face as a virtual signaling device. A dirty rag strapped to a child's face is downright cruel and is nothing more than a visual security blanket, making the adults around them feel safe. Pushing masks on our kids whom COVID basically poses no risk to is just wrong. In the state of Minnesota, we can talk about facts. In the state of Minnesota, 119,000 kids have been diagnosed with COVID under 19. 3 of those have died. That is straight from the Minnesota Department of Health website and their September 2nd weekly COVID update. Yet we continue to argue back and forth over masking our children. I don't mean to downplay the tragic loss of life of these 3 kids, but masking should be a parent's right and decided by the parents, not a condition of enrollment. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've heard many times over, and you'll hear this claim over and over again tonight, to follow the science and the data. Well, there's virtually no data on the trauma children endure by being told if they don't wear a mask, they might kill a grandparent, they might kill a neighbor, they might kill a teacher, they might kill their parents. Not only that, they're being told they're the spreaders of a deadly disease that basically poses no risk to them. There is no data on the long-term psychological trauma for children not being able to see teachers and peers' faces, and hiding the subtle facial cues that we all use all day long to communicate with each other, hidden behind a mask. There's no data on the long-term health effects on kids breathing through sweaty, dirty masks all day long. In the hospital setting, all the members there are forced to go through a training on PPE and mask usage. Many medical professionals teach the hospital staff how to properly wear a mask, how to put the mask on, take the mask off, and more importantly, how to properly dispose of that mask once it's worn. Kids, on the other hand, use all types of masks. Most students I observe when I drop my kids off are wearing cloth masks because they're the most comfortable. They put this mask on and off all day long with their dirty fingers. They sneeze in them, they cough in them, they rub boogers in them. They roll them up at the end of the day and shove them in their backpacks to be pulled out again the next day. As a parent of an 11 and 8-year-old, I can tell you that demographic doesn't think about washing their hands very much. The last thing that the kids think about is this mask clean? What they think about and what they're concerned about is, do I have a mask so I am not in trouble when I walk in the front door of the classroom? It does not take a rocket scientist to tell you that this does nothing to help our children and is merely making adults around them feel better. While COVID poses almost no risk to kids, you know what does pose a risk to kids? All this pageantry. This is terrible for the kids. I'm sure every kid's parents in here know for a fact that we're here and what we're doing and why we're here. And I told my kids I'm here for them, I'm here to fight for them. Hiding their teachers' and classmates' smiles, not to mention punishing students for not wearing a mask, is almost inhumane. There is a safety blanket available to all Americans 12 and up. It's the COVID-19 vaccine. Anybody who wants one who can get one. If you don't want one, you don't have to get one. So I ask you, Matt, and the school board here to hold the line. Do not use children as the pawns in this ongoing game of fear-mongering around masks. I ask my kids every day what the best part of their school day is, and last year, every day they told me the same thing: when we get to take our masks off, even if it was 10 below zero when they got to go outside to do so. Imagine a full day of school where the best part of your day is taking your mask off. You guys have a chance to do the right thing. Hold the line on the policies you put in place, case by case, class by class, school by school. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Next, I have Heidi Barton.
I'm Heidi Barton. I have 3 kids in the district. I want to start out by saying there was a Brown University study conducted by Emily Oster that compared COVID cases in schools that had mask mandates and schools that didn't. They found no correlation between mask mandates and COVID cases. But because those results don't fit the narrative, the study concluded that in-person school can be operated safely with appropriate mitigation, including universal masking. They're not even following their own science. Other studies showing that masks are effective at preventing COVID cases did not have a control group that attended school unmasked. So I'm not sure how they would know if it was effective or not. We see this also when comparing states that had mask mandates to those that don't. Their case rate peaks at different times, but the number of total cases is very comparable. I work at Grand Itasca as an occupational therapy assistant in home care. And in my job, I have to wear a mask, and with ordinary conversations with my patients, we can hear and understand each other fine. But sometimes I have to do a cognitive assessment. What I have noticed during COVID is that my patients ask for clarification on what I say constantly throughout the test. In regular conversation, it's rare, but when clarity is important, communication is hindered by the masks. Think of our students. They are learning new information every day. Every day they are being challenged cognitively, and masks make them have to work even harder to be understood and to understand. In my own household, 2 of my kids tested positive several months apart from each other. In each case, they did not infect anyone in their circle of friends or family. I personally feel we should be looking at improving the health and immune systems of our children, which will help them fight off COVID much better. Vitamin C and D are 2 important nutrients that our bodies need to stay healthy. Case rate is not what we should be looking at to use as a metric. Mortality of school kids would be better. Otherwise, we would shut down schools after meeting a case threshold of the flu, as death in school-age children is higher for flu than it is for COVID, according to the CDC. Each family has different needs when it comes to assessing their COVID risk. There are about 500 kids that tested positive during the last school year in our district that now have excellent immunity. Please do not reverse your current decision to allow families to choose for themselves if their students should wear a mask or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
Next, I have Jack Carlisle.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jack Carlisle. I'm a family physician at Grand Itasca. I had 4 kids in the district and still live in the district. I'm here representing a group of physicians to just basically address the board. We want to start off by thanking the superintendent and the school board. The task in front of you is nearly impossible, and we really want to acknowledge the stress that you're all under and the sacrifices that you've made to get to this point. Even though we may not agree with all of your decisions, we appreciate everything you're doing. Tonight, we stand in solidarity in the fight against COVID, and perhaps more importantly, the spread of misinformation in our community. Combined, we represent over 100 years of service to this community, and we're certainly not all the same. We come from all over the country, some rural, some urban. We are family physicians, pediatricians, surgeons, ER docs, and internal medicine physicians. Some of us are Republicans, some of us are Democrats, some of us are Catholics, some of us are atheists. But the thread that binds us all together is our unwavering commitment to the health and wellness of this community and our belief and trust in science. We all share the common goal of keeping our kids in school and our health system functioning. Just like all of you, we are tired and we too are angry. We have grown exhausted from the countless encounters with patients and friends who share opinions about COVID that are based on YouTube and Google searches. We listen and then calmly advise about the safety and benefit of vaccines and other mitigation efforts, only to be ignored over and over again. We are the ones who shared the joy of the birth of your children, comforted you when you lost a loved one, held your hand when we delivered bad news. We have guided you on basic care of poison ivy and strep throat, advised you on cancer treatment, counseled you through depression and PTSD, You've allowed us to operate on you and trusted us to take care of you during emergencies. But somehow in the past 18 months, we have lost this trust. For some reason, we are now the ones who are misinformed, uneducated, and misguided. We believe in a patient's right to choose no matter what the issue, but our job is to make sure everyone understands the consequence of those choices in regards to their own personal health, as well as the health of the community. Given our low vaccination rate and current case rate in the county, if our students return to the classroom without masks and other mitigation strategies, we will be forced to react. Students will be sent home, teachers will be out sick, and we'll be forced to shut down again. We only need to look to Albert Lee for an example of our trajectory. Our students deserve better than this. Hospitals in our region are at capacity. Nearly every night, our ER doctors are searching the state and region for open beds to transfer critically ill patients. And our mid-sized hospital relies on larger centers in Duluth and Fargo, St. Cloud, and the Twin Cities to care for patients with heart attacks, strokes, traumas, and complicated deliveries and surgeries. We can't find open beds, and these patients will spend hours and sometimes days in our emergency room or hospital waiting to be transferred. Masks work. An unmasked student may transmit the Delta variant to 8 kids, a masked student only to 4 kids. Vaccines are safe and they're highly effective in preventing the severe illness, hospitalizations, and death, and you just need to look at our local hospital for proof of that. The superintendent school board needs to be proactive and not reactive. Given this current surge of the more transmissible Delta variant, which is impacting pediatric patients at a much higher rate than before, we recommend mandatory masks for K through 12 students in ISD 318. This would be a temporary mitigation strategy to help us through the Delta surge and our best chance at keeping kids in school. This is what is best for their education and mental health. It's a challenging and confusing time for everyone. We're flooded with unending information. What we're asking is that you trust us, trust the same doctors that have been here for this community for the past 10 to 30 years. We are coaches and volunteers in the schools. We chaperone events and provide free medical assessments. We have family that work in the school. We're personally invested in your well-being. And why would we not be truthful now? We care about our patients and our community and will continue to serve all of you regardless of your decisions. We can scream for freedom. We can stomp our feet in anger. We can cover our eyes to reality, but the virus will just keep doing what it does: infect, mutate, spread. Let's all do our part to slow the spread of COVID and keep our kids in school. Let's be proactive and dial up our mitigation efforts. Be angry at the virus. Be kind to the teachers. They are the true heroes in this room. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I do have time for one more before our 6:30 meeting. I have Scottie Puglisi. Puglisi?
Hey, my name is Scottie Puglisi. I do have 3 children here in Grand Rapids in the school district, and I am also very grateful, especially to Matt Gross, for the leadership that you're taking. Thank you for the stand. I do want to say thank you to the doctors and nurses who have treated so many people, but I won't be bullied or shamed to not share what's true. So I'm here to ask that you keep the mask discussion at a request and not a mandate. As citizens of Grand Rapids, we value that you stand by what you say. I do have several reasons why masks should not be worn by children at all. I would think that at our medical community here in town that we do support and respect so highly that they would do more research onto the dirty mask and what that actually does do to our children. Masks make it incredibly hard for our children to discern mood, emotion, especially for children on the autism spectrum. Has anybody considered them? I haven't heard anything like that. There's psychological harm. Parents are using the word despair, like the gentleman shared before in the green shirt who was totally right, when describing the mental state of their children when they come home from school and have to take their mask off. There's physical harm. Mask rises carbon dioxide levels. It's also known as carbon dioxide toxicity, which includes headaches, confusion, sweating, increased heart rate and blood pressure, tremors, shortness of breath, reduced hearing, and dimmed sight. Masks lower children's oxygen levels in their blood and suppresses the immune system. And physical activity with a mask on only makes it worse. Face masks made with printed pictures are made with toxic carcinogenic chemicals, harmful microplastics, fire retardant, fiberglass, lead, formaldehyde, and more, and are being breathed into our children's lungs. Masks collect colonized viruses, bacteria, microbes, and mold. Masks increase viral load and increase severity of disease. Those are facts. You can send in any child's mask any day of the week and you'll find those things. Why are we still masking our children and teachers when there's so much evidence that children are not the spreaders of COVID and are rarely affected by COVID? According to the CDC, when and if children get COVID, their symptoms are mild to non-existent. Dr. Fauci himself said on February 5th, 2020, that masks are ineffective. And when he does testify in Congress, he does it without a mask. The school board's job is to be a representative of the people in that district. Well, I'm here to ask you, not just for myself, but for many other parents here in this room and those who could not make it, that you do not require masks. That should be a choice our families get to make. If the school board really cares about the health of our children, revamp your meals that you offer to our kids. And if you do mandate masks again, I'm just wondering, are you planning to offer distant learning again, or are we just stuck? COVID poses almost no risk to our kids at all. 4.2 million children have tested positive. A total of 0.008% of them have died. What about the flu? The CDC estimates that 480 kids die from the flu in the 2018-2019 school year. That's more than what died from COVID in a year and a half. Did anyone on this board or in this room suggest that we wear masks then? Do you know what it's called when you force a child to wear a mask when there is little to no threat to them? It's called child abuse. Again, I really am super grateful for what you're doing. I know you don't have an easy job, so really thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thanks, Scottie.
Given that I have 6:28 on my watch, we're just going to take a brief break before we kick off our 6:30 meeting. Thank you. It's 6:30. We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a start to this meeting, some of you may see a new face sitting up in our board. I would like to welcome Mark Schroeder. Mark Schroeder brings with us about 32 years, I think you said, correct? 32 years of experience in the education system. Mark will be our interim school board director, who is taking Sue Ziggy's space, who moved out of our district. So welcome, Mark. Mark has signed his oath of office, and I'm super excited to have you.
Thank you.
I'm looking for an approval for today's agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Moved by Pat.
Second.
Second by David. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to highest student achievement. I know we're here for mass, but today was the first day of school, and this is usually the best day on the board. I'm just going to say, like, it's just fun to have kids back in school. And so we're going to start with principal reports for all those littles and teens who were in school today. So I have Big Fork is Ken. I thought I saw you. Welcome, Ken.
Good evening. I'm Ken DeCoster. I'm the principal of Big Fork School. As you know, Big Fork is a K-12 school. There is something magical about being able to be in one building and be on one end and be in a first grade room and 2 to 3 minutes later be standing in a high school English room talking to juniors and seniors. We had a tremendous day today. They don't happen by accident. A lot of planning goes into these days, as I'm sure you're going to hear the other principals talk about too. Our tech department is just second to none. Everything was ready to go with all of our devices. No glitches there. Everybody responsive. Our custodians, maintenance, the building was in tip-top shape, even though we had some changes and some shifting around of staff. Everybody stepped up. Everything was ready to rock and roll. Staff has been in for weeks in and out, both teaching staff and non-certified staff, spending time making sure that they could be focused on the most important things on the first day of school, and that's kids. It started with our open house last Thursday, and we had a wonderful turnout. We had all kinds of things going on. I had students telling me how many people that they were surprised about being there, so that was a lot of fun to talk with them and get to know families in Big Fork. When I looked around the building today, throughout the day, smiles, students happy to see each other, happy to be back. You could see that comfort zone, and it was already there on the first day. So just, you know, thanks to the teaching staff, the paras, the custodians, you know, our cooks, everybody just comes together. It's such a positive day. Ms. Barr, just like you're talking about, it is one of the, it's the first day, but it feels like you hit that pinnacle and you want to be there all year long. That's just what it is, and it was a wonderful day. So any questions at all?
Board, any questions for Ken?
Thank you. Oh, one thing to add, 295 students we're at for an enrollment, which is, I think we have about 27 brand new students to Big Fork this year. So
wow.
Our enrollment is up and we're happy about it.
That's great.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Next, I have Jill Wheelock with Cohasset.
Good evening, and as Melissa Barr said, I'm Jill Wheelock, the principal at Cohasset, and it was an exciting day. I had to laugh because the students were there bright and early. It was 7:40, and that's when our doors opened, and the school was full. And I thought, where did all these kids come from so quickly? It was like they're all waiting and jumped in. It was great to see returning students, and we also had a number of new students as well. We had Mr. Maduri help out today, thank you. So when parents dropped off, he was out there, and he was one of the first faces that families saw, which was great. And then when kids walked in, they saw our support staff that greeted them and our specialists that had smiles on their faces too. Our teachers did a great job. Their expectation is to be at their door right at 8:10, greeting kids, and all of our kids got greeted personally with their first name and a conversation and a big, huge smile. And that really is a big, something we strive for at Cohasset, and sets the stage for that positive day for teachers, staff, and kids too. We utilize our new cafeteria. We've always had 2 serving windows and a bunch of serving equipment that was stuck in a gym storage. And so due to COVID restrictions, we could never use it. But this year it got to be, it looks like this glamorous cafeteria, like a restaurant. It has all these self-serve stations, and the kids thought it was pretty neat to go to window A or window B to get their food. And our food service staff and our ESPs did a great job. And our lunch was very fast, and the kids got done eating rather quickly, so we have to work on that tomorrow. And they had a great lunch. Our end of the day pickup, that's always a principal's worry. I think it kept me up all night last night, running through my head to make sure all the kids get home, and it was great. Our team really worked well together to ensure that everybody departed safely, both on the bus and then also with the parent pickup in the front. Our record is 7 minutes. We were not there today, but we will get there. We will get there. So Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Cohasset.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jill.
Thanks, Jill. Next, I have Ryan DeBay from East.
Good afternoon. Ryan DeBay, principal at East Rapids, and I want to thank David and Marty for being a part of our opening day ceremonies or opening day festivities today. What an awesome day. Wish I could bottle up that energy. I said it last year as well, but today we had about 600 learners walk through our doors. The smiles galore and a true celebration of learning, and that's what it's all about. A lot of smiles, a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. Today as a staff members, we received hundreds of knuckle bumps, hundreds of elbow bumps, lots of hugs. That just keeps us going all year long, but it was just awesome. We onboarded 1/3 of our kinder parents and welcomed them to the East Rapids community. We onboarded 1/3 of our kindergarten students and welcomed them as well. We initiated kids to our routines of being respectful, responsible, and safe in different areas, which was exciting. And we were able to get all of our students, 600 of them, home safely today. It was a feat, but we did it. But it was an amazing day, and we look forward to this all year. It's something that I typically don't sleep at night for, and I think many of our staff said they were awake last night listening to the storm as well. But we look forward to this year. We look forward to what's ahead. We had some great things happen last year with our data, and our community should be proud. And we look forward to killing it this year. We really do. And so, exciting day, and we appreciate everything, all the work that's gone into it from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Sean Martinson from West. Sean here? He might be at the soccer game.
Yeah.
He's still trying to get the kids home.
Yeah. Does anybody want to talk about the West? Was anybody at West today?
I was there for a while. Yep, similar feel that Ryan shared. A lot of energy and excitement, all those first day things that they were working out. How's the cafeteria going to work this year? Ryan shared there were about 10% more kids in the building today than last year's because everybody was there that was intending to be there. So that in and of itself is an adjustment, but a lot of good energy, smiles, excitement, kids ready to be there. Mark shared, many of the kids are excited to be there, and the other ones just don't want to admit they are. But that's what I saw. Staff too, just a real welcoming place.
Thank you. Next, I have Dan Adams. I know I saw Dan from our JMS.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. Dan Adams, middle school principal. We had the luxury of Ben Hawkins as our board rep, and I've always had a lot of respect for Ben. He was my professor when I learned about school finance, and I hold him in the highest regard. So to sit on the front step today with him was great as the welcoming committee. I don't think I have much original to say. It was amazing, the excitement, being able to see kids and everything about the first day of school. A great deal of gratitude to 100 adults roughly that make this all happen. The custodial staff, food service, instructional staff, paras, everyone that helps bring this together, and then just under 900 kids. You just can't beat that. And like Mr. DeBay commented on, knuckle bumps and high fives, and just the energy is, let's bottle it, let's sell it, because it's amazing. So yeah, great gratitude to the whole team. And any questions on behalf of the board, we really appreciate your representation there as well. It's phenomenal.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Dr. Das.
Well, good evening. I'm Matt Das. I'm principal of Grand Rapids High School. And I have to admit really quick before we get started, I welcome Mr. Schroeder to the board. And I have to admit I'm a little bit nervous because I had the fortune of working with Mr. Schroeder as assistant principal under him, and you just couldn't take not being my boss. What's going on in that school is in his head. No, but we had We had a fantastic day today too, just like at any other school. It's been a great summer. We ran a summer school program here on site just next door at the high school, which was fantastic. We recovered a lot of credit from some of our learning transitions last year and some things that dictated those items. And we recovered a lot of credit, so these kids are going to be ready to come in. And when we look at the entire year, we never really slowed down here at the high school. So we took a couple of weeks where we didn't have students in the building, but we started back today, and it was great. We had our 9th grade transition day where we bring in our new freshmen, and we bring in any new students who are always welcome to come in. And we started off in the morning with splitting kids out into teams, and we get them into small groups, and they kind of build some relationships there. We break them out into groups, and we kind of meet the students, and Officer Scott was in there too with us, just kind of meeting everybody and kind of building community here at the high school, which is really important. We had a mini schedule in the afternoon, so students went around to all of their classes, which is really important ahead of tomorrow. When the building fills up a little bit and we kind of figure out where we're going. So we were directing traffic a lot today. It's not the easiest to get around the building, but you learn it. And we had a really, really good day. A lot of nervous energy in the building, a lot of eagerness on behalf of the staff. You know, our teachers are the best at what they do, and they're just excited to see kids again. And teaching and kids is the 100% focus in every one of our buildings. I know that. Everyone is here to serve. We're here to serve our communities, and we're proud, of the job that we do. And I can also speak really quick closing. I did speak with Mr. Martinson too about at West, and I do know he just beamed about the energy there. You know, pickup is always a popular topic too. But he beamed about the energy there and just having kids back in the building. You hear it from every building. We're just glad to have kids back, so it's really nice to be back. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, we have nothing under safe and welcoming learning environments. So we're moving to 7, effective and efficient systems. And tonight we have no district facilities update. So I just wanted to make sure folks were aware of that. That will come at another meeting. Approve minutes of the 8/9/21 special school board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Pat.
Second.
Second by Ben. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. C, approve minutes of the 8/16/21 regular school board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by David.
I'll second.
Second by Mindy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing, all those opposed? Hearing none. Minutes approved. Looking for an approval on a resolution to accept donations and gifts for April, May, and June 2021. David, you want to read that?
Resolution concerning accepting donations. Whereas Minnesota Statutes 123B.02 subdivision 6 provides, quote, the board may receive for the benefit of the district bequests, donations, or gifts for any proper purpose and apply the same to the purpose designated. In that behalf, the board may act as trustees of any trust created for the benefit of the district or for the benefit of pupils thereof, including trusts created to provide pupils of the district with advanced education after completion of high school in the advancement of education, close quote. And whereas Minnesota Statutes 465.03 provides, quote, any city, county, school district, or town may accept a grant or devise of real or personal property and maintain such property for the benefit of its citizens in accordance with the terms prescribed by the donor. Nothing herein shall authorize such acceptance or use for religious or sectarian purposes. Every such acceptance shall be by resolution of the governing body adopted by a 2/3 majority of its members, expressing such terms in full, end quote. Therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 318 gratefully accepts the following donations as shown in the attachments provided to the board. For April of 2021, $7,500.22. For May of 2021, $18,500. $504.22. And for June of 2021, $23,307.24.
Thank you, David. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mindy, second by Ben.
Second by Ben.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, just again, we said it in the past, just want to say thank you to our community and our businesses and the partnership that we have with them that help us provide those educational opportunities and activities for our students.
Thanks, Ben. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes. Moving on to number E, approved consent agenda. Casey.
Thank you. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have Lori Antonson, Indian Education Student Advocate Resignation, Jesse Bloom, Indian Education Student Advocate Replacement Hire, Jeff Clayson, Bus Driver Replacement Hire, Jonathan Dunnick, Debate Coach Resignation, Nikki Gebhardt, RJEMS Secretary Replacement Transfer Hire, Samantha Gould, Indian Education Student Advocate Replacement Hire, Abby Guthler, RJEMS Volleyball Coach Temporary Hire, John Hartung, Bus Driver Resignation, Carolyn Levy, Title I Teacher Replacement Hire, Michael Lundberg, Food and Nutrition Replacement Hire, Thomas Marquardt, Bus Driver Replacement Hire, Don Peterson, Custodian Replacement Hire, Amber Powers, Community Education Resignation, Cynthia Prather, School Nurse Hire, Kyle Ray, Bus Driver Replacement Hire, Heather Reinhardt, ESP Replacement Hire, Krista Rorick, Grand Rapids High School Secretary Replacement Hire, Amy Savala, ESP Retirement. Amy served the district for 13 years. Shelley Schramm, ESP Retirement. Shelley has served the district for 30 years. And Cassie Bernig, Indian Education Student Advocate Replacement Hire. I'm recommending approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved, David.
Moved by David.
Second.
Second by Pat. There is no discussion on consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, Casey. Moving on to F, the naming of Grand Rapids High School practice field. Ann, welcome.
Hi, Ann Campbell. I'm the Activities Director for District 318, and before I ask for a couple recommendations, I'm going to update you on today's events. Our tennis team just won 6-1 over Denville. Our girls soccer team just beat Wasabi East 5-0, and our boys soccer team just defeated Bemidji 3-2. So
Wow.
Good night to you at Thunderhawk.
There we go. It's a good day.
So tonight I'm asking for approval of two recommendations. The first one is approve naming the Grand Rapids High School practice field. I request approval to name the Grand Rapids High School practice field. A facility naming committee will work in conjunction with the superintendent to identify names to present to the school board for consideration. Independent School District 318 is home to one of the most iconic educational-based athletic settings in the state of Minnesota. The towering white pines that encompass the activities facilities on the campus of Grand Rapids High School provide a competitive environment that is unmatched. ISD constructed a new stadium to host field sports nearly 20 years ago. Since then, that facility that had hosted field sports, namely football, has been used as a practice facility and more recently as a performance venue for two recently added field sports, boys and girls lacrosse. This facility, formerly the stadium where the Grand Rapids band and Grand Rapids football team performed, has remained unnamed. With the increase in activity offerings, this field will continue to host and serve as a performance venue.
Looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Mindy? For a
Second, David.
Second by David. Discussion.
Madam Chair, and just for clarification, you're formulating the committee to bring a recommendation forward, or there is a committee already?
The school board, through the superintendent, must name a committee of 3 to 5 people, I believe it is.
Yeah, there's a process in place for naming, which we created when we named the schools, and we'll follow that same process.
That's correct. It's really helpful and good timing. This policy was just reviewed. I'll speak to it in a second. Just reviewed by our policy review committee. Like Madam Chair said, it was set up when the schools were named, and it lays out a really tight process about how we go about doing this. So the next step would be the development of the committee, and then the development of a list of names that would come back to the school board for consideration.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval to create a facilities naming committee in search of a new name for the practice field.
Great, thank you very much. The second recommendation I'm asking for is through our independent provider application. I have a group, Minnesota State High School Equestrian Group has filled out the necessary paperwork, and they are asking that we accept their application. They have 2 students that have completed and the requirements to receive a letter. Those requirements are at least 150 hours during a season of practice. There must be competitiveness to the activity in the form of contests and competitions, and the participation must be at an advanced level as opposed to entry level. I have 2 students that have filled out the independent provider packet, and I'm asking for approval.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved by Pat.
Second.
Second by Mark. I would, as we sat on the committee to talk about this, this is really in line with the dance. There's some dance companies that use us where they can letter and they can use our name, but it doesn't cost the district any money. So I just want to be clear that we're not adding this as a sport, that this is an ad for kids to letter and use the Thunderhawk. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you. Moving on to number 8, partnerships. Approve Itasca Resource Center lease agreement addendum. Matt.
What you have in your packet is an extension, essentially, of the lease agreement that the school district has with the Itasca Resource Center. It's primarily used for early childhood space. Similarly, that you'll hear about with B, these are being extended as we continue to evaluate the space that we have and the space that we need. We're grateful for partners that we have, like the county in this case, and the Boys and Girls Club in the next case. But the terms of this lease remain the same. There's no increased cost. They stayed the same. This would extend it through this school year. And I believe by that point, we'll have a handle on what we're going to be using as far as leased or using the space that we have. So I recommend approval.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ben.
Second.
Second by David. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to 8B, approve lease agreement with Boys and Girls Club of Grand Rapids and Greenway. Matt.
Again, this is essentially an extension of the agreement that we had in the 2021 school year. We're grateful to have the Boys and Girls Club in our community as a partner. It provides a healthy and safe place for our students to be after school, those kids especially that need some wraparound type care. They have a number of activities that they do after school, academic and sort of physical. They have a number of curriculum that they work through as well. They're currently in Murphy and would continue through the rest of this school year under this agreement.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved by Pat.
I'll second.
Second by Mindy. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve the lease agreement passes. Moving on to 8C, board reports. I will start. I usually go last. I'm going to start. I don't have many meetings, but we are in the middle of negotiations with the teachers unit, and I just want folks to know that that's still moving forward. There's not a lot to report, but we are working with the teachers to try and reach an agreement, so that's still moving forward. And there are a couple of other units who have indicated that they want to move their negotiations forward too, so I think there's some board members who are working to schedule those. Other than a lot of just daily stuff, no major meetings for me. Do I have a volunteer to go next?
I have no reports, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ben.
I also don't have any reports.
Okay.
Madam Chair, just a couple of meetings. We had an EIP and Education Innovation Partnership meeting, and we're in a process of disbanding EIP, which I mentioned a couple months ago. So hopefully that'll be completed within the next couple months. Then we had a RAMS meeting last Thursday, and we had our new executive director attend our first meeting. Ida Rukavina went well, and she'll be visiting us at some point in time in the future, getting hold of Julie and introducing ourselves to our school board and that. So, and then just teachers negotiation as well, and just a shout out to Big Fork football coach Johnson. Big Fork won last Thursday night. Had the opportunity to officiate that game with the other crew members, and then congratulations to Coach Spahn and Grand Rapids football victory as well. And then I had the opportunity to be at Cohasset this morning, and I got to say, 99.8% of the kids, you encourage them to say good morning. They all said good morning, had smiles on their face. That hit the heart big time. I think they're really excited to be there, and actually walked the halls after everybody was seated in the classrooms and stuff. The school's really impressive. So thank you, Jill, to you and your staff for the great job there. So that's all I had, Madam Chair.
Thanks. David.
Yes. Briefly, Pat Maduri and I were appointed to the MSBA Delegate Assembly to look at the positions that we want to take vis-a-vis the legislature. So we'll be working on that. That gathering will be in December, so we'll be getting input from the board prior to that. We had an IASC meeting. IASC is an assembly of area schools serving our students and ways that we can collaborate better. There's new leadership at IASC. Pat Rendell from Hill City has taken over the chairmanship, and in the coming weeks and months, IASC is undertaking an in-depth look at future plans for that organization. We haven't really dug into that for quite some time, and I think it's overdue that we look at how IASC can best serve our students throughout the region. The endowment committee has met. We have an endowment deadline for ISD 318 faculty coming up in late October, very beginning of November. The endowment right now, we're looking for some additional members. So anybody that's has a wish to better serve our students in the region, finding resources that are not available through school resources, but additional projects, this is a great opportunity. And as noted, the Boys and Girls Club is meeting. We have a major fundraiser coming up on Saturday, the Duck Drop Derby, where we will drop 3,000 ducks off the bridge, and the first one across wins $1,000. It's the major fundraiser for the Duck Drop, for the Boys and Girls Club. And as Matt has noted, the Boys and Girls Club is in a very committed partnership with ISD 318, working currently at Murphy School.
Thank you, David.
No meetings to report for me. I'm pretty new, but I did very much enjoy welcoming the Big Fork students into school this morning. Just a lot of energy.
Fun. Superintendent report. Mr. Gross.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mentioned the policy 899, the naming of schools and facilities. That was reviewed by our policy review committee on the 19th of August. No changes were made to that one, and so no action required. Policy 807, health and safety, same thing, was reviewed by the Policy Review Committee on the same date. No changes were made, so no activity by the board required. I had the opportunity to make the tour today and check out buildings, and the principals and board members did a great job of characterizing what I saw as well. It's remarkable to see these routines being established. We have students in our buildings that haven't been in school for 18 months. They haven't been in a building. And so there's a lot of reacclimating that has to happen in routines. Some haven't stepped foot in our new buildings. And so a lot of that has to happen those first few days, reestablishing routines and habits and expectations. But I saw a lot of eager faces, both on the faces of adults and children, so really good stuff. We had a great opening week last week, and so much goes into that, those 3 days. It's interesting when in different circles, and I hear people talk about, well, school starts on the 7th, and it's like, well, no, if our teacher, we have to bar the door shut just about to keep people out of the buildings in the summer because they are so committed to this work. And so a lot goes into even before those 3 days. But we had training on Tuesday. We talked about ACEs, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences, and many of our staff had heard about that, but we topped that off with kind of the complement to that, which is healthy outcomes from positive experiences. It's what do we do when we know that children come to our buildings with trauma or with concerns? How do we build relationships with those children? How do we build into their lives so that they can have positive outcomes despite what might be challenging situations growing up? And I think that was well received. And one of the things that I think in education we've done not the best job of over time was just giving that one-time hit and then walking away from it. This is something that's going to be built into our rhythm for the year, is talking about what is our learning environment like, what is it like to be a kid here, how do we support children, how do we support each other, and just sort of adding on to that work that we learned about on Tuesday. So principals, I think, are excited about that. Our staff are digging in, and that'll be a really, really great thing, especially coming off the last year and a half. We have some preliminary data coming in that's very promising and just shows that despite what happened last year, people worked hard, people did amazing things, and our children learned. And so I'm really excited about being able to talk about that as we put that together and can talk about that publicly. But just our staff are amazing. They're just amazing at what they do. We've had a couple of meetings, too, in the last 2 weeks with professionals regarding COVID, and we're going to continue to do that. The situation is fluid. It's changing. We're watching data every single day, both what's happening in our buildings now that we have that data, what's happening in our state. Met with physicians last week, got some input from them, from our COVID advisory team, sorting through that data, sorting through what we know about COVID, what we know about Delta, and we'll continue to monitor that so that we can do the very, very best thing that we can for our kids. I think it's really important, and I said this on our Facebook Live that we ran, just how important it is that to remember that our kids are watching us as adults, how we treat each other, despite disagreement, and acting with respect and acting with dignity and acting with kindness and grace has to be how we lead. And so I've been really impressed for the most part by the communications that we've received. I feel like they've been full of that, and I'm appreciative of that, but that's going to have to be what we consistently model. Leadership isn't about a seat, it's about what we do and how we behave. And so that's what the stance that we want to take this year. So I'm excited. This is why every educator in the room got into this business, and it's about days like today and seeing children and getting learning going. This is what it's about. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to meeting announcements. 8E, we have a school board goal setting workshop on 9/8/21 at 4 p.m. in the admin boardroom. Next is a policy review committee on 9/9/21 at 9 a.m. in the admin boardroom. There's a labor management committee at 9/13/21 at 3:30 in the admin boardroom. There's a school board workshop on 9/13/21 at 5:30 p.m. in the admin boardroom. There's an endowment committee meeting on 9/15/21 at 4:30 in the admin boardroom. There will be another school board open forum and work session on 9/20/21 at 6 p.m. Big Forks School and admin boardroom via Google Meets. So we're in Big Fork in the next meeting. School board meeting 9/20/21 at 6:30 in Big Fork School and admin via Google Meets as well. Any other business to come before the board? Hearing none, I will move to public input. And I would just like to remind folks at this point in time, you will be seen on ICTV, so you know. The same will apply, but I will restate it just so that everybody is aware that ISD board meeting open forum and public input statement is the ISD 318 school board shall provide a specific period of time where persons may address the school board on any topic subject to the limitations of policy 206. All individual comments shall be less than 5 minutes. Any group of 5 or more persons must appoint one person to present the group's views to the board. Depending on the number of persons present, the school board chair reserves the right to set further time limits to allow participation within the allocated time. The board shall not allow negative comments in public session about individual employees or students. Specific factual information or recitation of existing policy may be furnished in response to the inquiries, but the board shall not deliberate or decide regarding any issue that is not included on the agenda posted with the notice of the meeting. If there are more requests than time available, priority will be given to persons that reside within Grand Rapids Big Fork school districts. There were sign-up sheets, and I will see if there's any that had come in during our meeting, but I'm about halfway through those that signed up initially. And they will have 5 minutes, and I'd just like you to say your name and whether or not you reside in the district. You do not have to say whether or not you have a student. You don't have, because that doesn't necessarily matter, just whether or not you reside in the district. And there will be a timer that's set up here for folks to see, so you can see that when you're talking, and nobody has to interrupt you. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to start off with Dan Ritter. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, my name is Dan Ritter. Thank you for letting me speak today. I'm 46 years old. I got 2 kids in the school district. One's a senior, one's an 8th grader. With these masks, enough is enough. It's child abuse to enforce masks on kids. This is all happening because good citizens were first obeying instead of thinking. Wearing a mask will only increase the amount of virus you are exposed to. The moisture and heat constantly slamming against the mask is the absolute perfect environment for a virus to grow. Another mechanism that the coronavirus invades your cells is enhanced by lower levels of oxygen. Studies have shown that wearing a mask can decrease your blood oxygen concentrations. Remember, children are not affected by this virus like adults with underlying conditions. Kids deserve to see faces. It's important for their speech development and their mental health. They deserve to see smiles and their teachers and friends' faces. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Next, I have Aaron Schnauzer. Snazer? Okay.
My name is Aaron Schnauzer. I reside in the district. I emailed my thoughts regarding this, so I won't repeat those. I'll just kind of share some thoughts I've thought of while sitting here. I'm a science teacher and I've read a lot of scientific papers, and I'm not an expert by any means in at a PhD level at any field, but I do know how easy it is to take scientific data and take it out of context from the conclusions of studies, and I feel like I've heard a lot of that today. I trust the medical and mental health professionals we've heard here today on their recommendations for masks. Masks do work. Science is very clear on that, to help stop spread the virus. As a parent who has had to fight for accommodation for my child, I know parents who have kids with legitimate mental health or medical concerns can get similar accommodations as diagnosed by the appropriate professional. I know the consequences of the choice not to wear a mask go beyond personal. They affect our medical infrastructure, our medical care workers, loved ones and friends who get sick and die from the virus. And children, although they're at less risk, they do get sick, they do get hospitalized, and they do die. Very small numbers, but it does happen. I am not aware, to my knowledge, of children getting sick or dying from dirty masks, boogers, or carbon monoxide asphyxiation from wearing a mask sitting in a classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Next, I have Jim Grossman. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you. My name is Jim Grossman. I'm a parent of 2 children. We live in the district here. And I'd just like to start off by thanking you for listening to our voices despite it not being on the agenda. So I really appreciate that. And I'd like to thank you for your decision already to allow for freedom because you know, you mentioned we're here in part about masks, but for me it's not about masks. It's about freedom. It's about the parents' right to choose for their own children. There's a statistic this year that homeschooling jumped from 13% to above 30%. It's a 17% increase. If the conditions that caused parents to choose to do that were to continue, it may jump to 47%. I know for our children, we've considered it. My oldest daughter said before we left, make sure you know that they know that I do not want to wear a mask at school, and I will ask you if I can be homeschooled, and I would allow that. And I think that's something that you as a board should consider, that parents do have a choice in this as well. It's not simply just about masks. It's about what we choose to do with our own children. I do want to address what the doctors had shared. There were several who shared studies that Heidi Barton pointed out. They'll have a study and not have a control group, or they'll have a study with a control group that it concludes there's no significant difference either way, and they then still recommend against their findings. So they don't even follow their own science. It's not that we don't trust doctors. We are not stupid. We can read and see the CDC stats put out. What we're talking about here is not medicine. We're talking about public policy. When I was in school, they taught us critical thinking, critical thinking, critical thinking, not blind trust. We started this meeting pledging allegiance to that flag, which stands for liberty for all. And liberty is the right to make those choices. And so I thank you once again, very, very much appreciate the decision that you've made, and I encourage you, as has been done already, to continue on that same road. My oldest daughter shared that what she wanted to know. My youngest daughter said today was the bestest day of school ever. She got to see her friends and see them smile. So I'm very glad that that was a consequence of the choice that you made, and that was reflected in principal's comments as well. And so just wanted to come today and make my family's voice known. I appreciate you guys allowing for that, despite it not being in the agenda. I just really appreciate that. We as parents should have the right to make the decisions for our own children, so thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next, I have Rachel Van Drunen. Please correct me if I said your name wrong. I apologize. Welcome,
Hi,
Rachel.
my name is Rachel Van Drunen. I do reside in the district. I have 5 children, 2 of which are at East Elementary this year. I don't have anything formally written up. I wasn't even planning on talking, but like has been said before, I just feel like there's a lot of voices that aren't heard. Those quieter voices that belong to families like mine. I do have a unique perspective. I know what goes on behind schools. I did 6 or 7 years in an emotional behavior disorder classroom. I know that teachers strive to make school work and function and do a really good job of it, and I appreciate that. I appreciate your guys' positions too. I guess I'm here just to bring some awareness to voices that are up there that aren't going to speak. This is out of my comfort zone. But I do represent a large population of people that homeschooled last year. We just didn't feel that it was right to subject our children to mask wearing and not being able to have access to a normal school year. So I did pull my kids out. A large population of people did that too. And as has been said already, there is a large population of people that are kind of waiting in the wings. And if masks are mandated, I know that there will be a pretty big exodus of families, and we don't want that. We do want our kids to be in school. We do want them to have access to a normal school year. We appreciate the staff and the teachers and all the other families too. It is really sad to see the divisiveness of COVID and how parents aren't able to choose the right for their own family. It feels like you either stand on one side or the other instead of coming together, which is what we want. We want everybody to be able to be together in a building. If you want a mask, that's fine. We're fine with that. If you don't want a mask, we just ask that people are fine with that too. So we just are asking today that both voices are heard. As has been said, we pledge allegiance to the same flag. We go to the same schools. We're interacting in the same community. So the respect that everybody wants for one side, we want for the other side as well. And we give you respect, and respect should be a mutual thing. So thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Next, I have Annie Olson-Reiners. Annie, here you are. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you. Hello, all. Thank you so much for everything you've done for all of our kids and families. I just really appreciate the service that you all have given so much of yourselves for our kids. So thank you. Small potatoes first, as my grandma would say. Transportation concern. I did all the things. I filled out the forms. I sent the letters. I called, I left voicemails. I left voicemails at other extensions. I still don't know where my kid's bus stop is, or what time she's supposed to get on the bus, or where she's supposed to get on the bus, at what time she gets off the bus. I'm sad to say I'm not the only person. So it's a super crazy hard job, I bet. There's a bunch more kids on the bus. So please help allocate more manpower to making sure that everybody knows where their kid gets on and off the bus in the mornings and in the afternoons. Turns out I need childcare. I didn't know I needed childcare. So that's a big important thing for all families. Second of all, I'm just really disappointed about masking. I understand that there's so much pressure on all of you, but it is frustrating that the loudest voices are drowning out the needs of the most vulnerable. So it is frustrating. It's disappointing. I get it. I wear a mask. You don't have to wear a mask, but what I wanted to share was just one story of why it impacts my kid. So why someone's not masking impacts my kid. So my child masks at school. She wears a mask. She'll never ask your kid why they don't wear a mask, because that's rude, and it wouldn't be respecting them. So I hope that your kids will pay that same respect to my kid. But my child masks at school to protect the staff, to protect the other kids at school, but she also masks to protect her grandpa, who has stage 4 cancer. And because we choose to send her to school this year, and because both of her parents are teachers, we won't get to see him. You just won't get to see him very much, because we have to try to protect him as much as we can. So when you're saying your kid's choice does not impact other people, it really is. It really is. So it's disappointing. But again, I want to thank you for your service. And I do hope that the better angels in all of us will help us pull together for our kids, because it matters. It matters a whole lot.
Thank you, Annie.
Thank you, Annie.
I have Tim Polke. It's okay, I'd tell a joke, but I don't know very many of them. That would be my brother. Well, maybe you could tell it as you're coming down. That would be. No. Welcome.
Well, I'm nervous. Thank you for letting me talk. I've never attended a school board meeting until tonight, and I got a notice that there was going to be one, and I said I need to be there. And I understand why people do and why people don't wear masks. I just want to read a few things. Not going to read everything, but try to make a point here. I found the following article on the internet posted on the door of a business. Caution, if you enter the premise while wearing a mask, please don't touch anything. We know you've been fidgeting with it, breathing in it, sneezing in it, and coughing through it. touching other things and then touching other things and then touching your mask again. Germs have accumulated in your mask. Please don't transfer them to our merchandise. I'm a bus driver, and I'm sure teachers or anybody could testify that people do not handle the mask the way they need to. I know when I have to wear one, I find myself fidgeting with it. I'm not going to pick on anyone, but I was just noticing you people at the table there, it's just something we do. We want to touch that mask. So I'll go on. Mayo's website states a cloth is intended to trap respiratory droplets that are released when the wearer talks, coughs, or sneezes. The CDC website says correctly, and I want to emphasize that, correctly putting it on and taking it off the cloth mask improves protection. Taking a mask off is a high-risk process because pathogens may be present on the outer surface of the mask and may result in self-contamination during removal. Not only may it result in self-contamination, but it also results in contaminating everything you touch or those around you. Mayo's website says, regarding mask use, states the proper use, storage, and cleaning of masks also affects how well they protect you, and I think that's the issue. How well can they protect us depends on how well we, or how carefully we handle them. They say, wash or sanitize your hands before and after putting on your mask. Is that being done? Place your mask over your mouth, nose, and chin. Tie it behind your head or use ear loops. Make sure it's snug. Don't touch your mask while wearing it. If you accidentally touch your mask, wash or sanitize your hands. Is that happening? And especially with our children. I mean, before I drove, when I had my training for the school bus, the lady that trained me in said, as a school bus driver, you're going to be exposed to a lot of germs and you're probably going to get sick. And, you know, that's the way it is. Kids are little germ spreaders. So if your mask becomes wet or dirty, switch to a clean one. Put the used mask in a sealable bag you can get rid of or else wash it. Last year I had a little girl get on the bus. Wore the same mask every day. It was so dirty and she left it on the bus. I took it home. I washed it and I returned it to her. Many of the parents are very good, but the kids just fail to keep their mask clean. You know, after they wore it all day, is that mask clean anymore? I don't think so. Wash your hands immediately after removing your mask. Regularly wash the mask in the washing machine or by hand. So I ask you, how many adults follow these rules? Yet the CDC's broad requirement for masks for public transportation, including school buses, really ignores their direction that you should handle a certain way. And I know that CDC guidelines have to be followed when it comes to the busing. But in the classroom, if the CDC says you have to follow our guidelines, I think you have to draw a line there. I don't, for the safety of our children. And before I close, I have been so impressed as a district employee of 318, as a bus driver, with teachers that I've had contact with, administration people I've had contact with, and Mr. Gross, I've had listened to his meetings teaching us or talking to us. So I thank the school board. I thank you for your stance. And just consider, you know, are those kids going to be handling the mask properly? If they're not, are we actually going to be causing them to be spreading more illness? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
That's all I have unless Julie, come on down. All I need is your name and if you reside in the district, and then we'll get going.
Sorry, I was late to the meeting.
No, that's okay. Welcome.
My name is David Hack. I reside in the district. I have 3 boys that will eventually be going here, and 2, one in 2nd grade, or 3rd grade right now, excuse me, and one in 1st grade. I want to thank you, Matt Gross, and the school board for giving us the opportunity to come here and have our voices heard and have the voices of your constituents heard. I'm not going to quote stats because no matter what side you're on, whether you're pro-mask or for mask or against mask, or however you feel about the mask, there's a study to prove otherwise, or there's stats to prove otherwise, and we could go round and around, back and forth with mask arguments. But I don't have a physician's license. I'm not a specialist on disease. I don't have a PhD or the like, but what I do have is first-hand experience as a teacher, as a community member, and as a dad. As a community member, I see, along with my kids and all others in the community, what goes on with daily normal life. And when I have an 8-year-old ask me, well, why can there be 65,000 people in a Virginia Tech game and there can't be without masks on, but we're going to maybe have to wear masks. So it's really hard for me to justify and explain to those kids and my kids why they have to wear masks. In the classroom, it's hard for me to explain to kids why today was different than last year. It's hard for me to say, well, today was normal. How many principals and administrators said today that they saw smiles? And that's different. That's amazing. As a teacher, as a parent, as a dad, it was awesome to see smiles again today for the first day in the classroom for over a year. I'm down in Hill City. I'm a teacher down there. And we didn't have masks on at the beginning of the year. We didn't have masks for the first, I don't even know how long it was, until the governor actually made a mask mandate. We didn't have masks on down there. So I have firsthand experience of what happens as soon as the masks come on. Education collapses. The education in my classroom collapsed as soon as the mask came on. Kids no longer were eager to learn. They were no longer eager to socialize with each other. They are no longer eager to collaborate with each other as much as they are when they don't have masks on. I'm not saying they didn't learn anything, but they didn't learn as much as they do without the mask on. The doctor said viruses will do what they do, spread. That was his statement, not my statement. So no matter what we do with them, with this, it's going to spread. All right, we try to mitigate viruses and diseases as much as we can, and those 12 and older who want to get a vaccine can get a vaccine. Those who want to wear a mask, a double mask, a shield, any kind of protectant that they want to in the school can still come get the education they want and wear that. No one's telling them they can't wear a mask, they can't double mask, they can't double mask and wear a shield. No one is, but someone wants to tell us that we have to wear a mask when we don't want our kids wearing masks in education. He also said that it would be temporary. We've all seen what the temporary is, okay? Temporary is 2 weeks to slow the curve. We're on how many months, okay? I don't think that it would be temporary if it was reinstated. So right now I've asked you to hold the line as a community member, as a dad, and as a teacher who wants to be able to educate our students the way they deserve to be educated, with smiles on their face. We can't control anything, but we can control how we react to it. And how we react to this, I'm for people who want to wear masks. I want them to be able to wear masks. I don't judge anybody who wears a mask if they want to, but I don't think someone should have the right to tell me to put a mask on my kid every single day of the school year and send them to school for 7 hours. And then when it comes, when does it end? Do my kid have to wear a mask in gym class? Does my kid have to wear a mask in sports? All right, and then they go to their friends after. They're wondering why they can be around their friends all day long, or all day long they have to wear a mask around their friends, and now all of a sudden school's out, and that's the only place the disease is transferred. So it's really hard to explain to 8-year-olds and high school kids and middle school kids alike. Today was a great day, and it was great to experience normal in the classroom and see all the administrators outside smiling, and see all the smiley kids coming into school that wanted to, and also see those who were masks and felt comfortable wearing the mask. So I hope that we hold the line and continue to allow those to wear masks that want to, and those to not wear masks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Go ahead, come on up.
since I have 2 daughters in the school district. The first thing I'd like to say is that I'm new to the district. My kids are new to the district. Last year was their first year in the school. Not a great year to be a new student anywhere. But the disappointment that they felt on the day was hard to watch. Ma'am, I feel for you. I hurt for you that you're scared for your grandfather. And I hurt for you that you're scared for whatever kid you're here advocating for. And I want you to know that the same hurt that you feel, we as parents also feel. Because I had a kid who went from happy and excited to be on her first day of school to depressed and withdrawn day by day. I watched a kid go from, and hey, how are ya, to, I don't even want to talk about school day. But today I saw that back. Today I saw that in my student. I plead with you to think about it. And I'm sorry that you have to. I'm so sorry for you. This is what it has to be. That this is what your meeting has to be tonight. I hate it for you. But I'm glad that you're here, and I thank you for listening to us so much. Because I want you to know that it is universally parents concerned about kids. And as concerned as someone is about a grandfather, I'm concerned about my kid too. I'm concerned about her continuing to have excitement to go to school. That's what we all want, right? We want our kids to be excited to go to school, whether it's in a mask or without a mask. We want to see joy on them. And I will be the first to tell you, who'singoodfamily@yahoo.com is my email address. And if my kid makes fun of one of your kids in a mask, email me, because I will spank her butt. But I also want you to know that my kid who got the Thunderhawk Pride Award as a brand new student considered killing herself last year. And I hope she doesn't hate me for saying that, but you need to know that it's just as serious. It's just as serious. But today, she packed a bag of Skittles in her backpack and she joyfully handed them out. And I bet she was closer than 6 feet to people to do that. She had to be. Socialization matters to our kids. Please don't take that away from them.
Thank you, Anne. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Jessica. I have 4 kids and we do reside in the district. And to pair it with every other speaker said, I really appreciate you taking the time to hear us, hear our concerns, and I don't envy your position just like anyone else here. I have a daughter who's 7, and we had a great experience in kindergarten. And because of the mask mandate, we're another one of the families that pulled our child out to homeschool because I didn't want her to be subjected to having to wear a mask all day long. I didn't want her to miss the excitement of seeing smiles on her friends' faces, miss hugs from teachers, miss the excitement when she learned something new from her teacher because she can't read their face. We're not going, we didn't re-enroll this year again because we don't know what's gonna happen. And I didn't want the back and forth of, do we put her in school and pull her out in 2 weeks or whenever the potential mask requirement hits. I do have one child though, who is in the district. My 4-year-old son, he's a preschooler. He's nonverbal. And while I'm so grateful that the preschoolers were not required to wear masks last year, the teachers were. My son is learning to speak and he can't even read the lips of his teachers who are trying to teach him how to sing songs like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, how to show him how to form letters with his lips. He loves people so much. He is 100% social. And he can't even read his teachers' faces to know when they're excited about something that he's learned. That's tragic. That's tragic. We shouldn't be doing this to our children. I think it should be optional for kids. I fully support people who, if you want to wear a mask to protect your family, to protect your neighbors, or whatever reason you feel compelled, absolutely wear one. There's no judgment there. But please support those who don't wear one. You don't know how it impacts other people. And for us, it's a difference between my son learning to talk at 4 or maybe 6 or 7 or whenever all this craziness ends. So I ask you, please don't require the kids to wear masks, and please don't require teachers to do it either.
Thank you. Come on in.
Butler. I'm in the district, I spoke before. And I just want to leave, I guess, with a couple of points. As Annie said earlier, there are voices that are being drowned out of vulnerable people. Kids with Down syndrome are 4 times more likely to contract corona and 10 times more likely to die. And when we continue to assert our rights, my kids can wear masks. There's no issue. I'm not here speaking about my kids, to be honest, or anybody in my family for that matter. We can all wear masks, and we do. But when we assert our rights, and they infringe on the liveness of a human, that's where it becomes incredibly problematic. Are masks to fix? No. I just ordered for my work masks that have clear spot right in the middle. Because like the gal that just spoke, our kids need to be able to see faces. Sometimes, not all the time. We've got eyes, other ways that we express our emotions, but there are ways around that. I worked very hard this last year. Oh my gosh, watch the decline of so many kids' mental health. We know this, we all agree, no matter where you are in this argument, we know that kids' mental health declined, and it was scary. I stopped using the term socially distance, because that's not what we need to do. We can physically distance, but we need to socially connect, and there are ways around that. And I can tell you that from my practice and practice around the world, to be honest, in mental health, creating ways to create connection. And I also just want to offer this for anybody that's struggling with vulnerability in your family. You can actually have it written into your child's IEP that the people that are in contact with your children must wear masks. So I would encourage you to all do that. Because if our school district doesn't find that important enough to protect those children, not just children, but the adults as well, there are many teachers who go to work every single day and risk their lives to do this job, then you can do it a different way. So check your IEPs. Thanks.
Thank you. I am going to ask that people only speak once, or we could be here for days. I'm going to ask, and I apologize, I didn't catch that. So I apologize to all of you. Anybody else? I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank you for all of you being respectful to each other. I think kids matter, and it's cool to see an auditorium full of people who really believe that. And we're listening. I mean, we're listening. As you can see, there's no right answer. There is no specifically right answer for every child in this school system. And it's a moving target. And so I just want to thank everybody for coming. Is there any other board comments?
Thank you.
Anything? Thank you. Have a good evening.